Hello, 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 and welcome back to our weekly Sunday school lesson. I am Elder Latanya Milliken of the All Nations Church in Oakland, California. My pastor is Bishop Terrence L. Milliken, and this is our weekly Sunday school lesson. Today, we began a brand new quarter, our winter quarter. So this is lesson 1. The date of this lesson, December the 5th, 2021. We will be highlighting today, we have a 2-part lesson, the book of Matthew, the first chapter, the 18th through the 21st verse. That's the first portion of our lesson. The second portion of our lesson is in the book of St. John, the 12th chapter, the 1st through the 8th verse. The subject of our lesson today, subject before triumph. Now, before we go into our lesson, I want to give you an overview of our quarter. The theme of our quarter is triumph. Unit 1, Jesus' triumph arrival. Unit 2, teaching on truth and trials. Unit 3, triumph over trials. And so if you've been on this journey with me, last year for our winter quarter, we were in the book of St. John as well. We began with Jesus's birth, and we skipped over to the early portion of his ministry. We learned how he found his disciples or selected his disciples. We experienced miracles. The first one, at the wedding where he turned the water into wine, the feeding of the 5,000, the walking on the water at night. And we ended that quarter with Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. And that was a very, very important lesson at that particular point, and that was around getting close to the 12th chapter. And we're picking up this year, winter quarter, from where we left off last winter quarter, where we're in the book of John. So we will primarily be in the book of John, beginning at the 12th chapter. So if you read John all the way to the 21st chapter, you will always be ready for our lessons. And I will try to guide you at the end of each lesson to tell you what we'll be studying next. I do suggest, however, you get your Sunday school books. I did have a little issue with getting Sunday school books. They sent the wrong ones to the church, and then I ordered them on Amazon, and someone stole them off my porch. So I'm still waiting, but we still have the lesson to go over today. So it's a good lesson. So let's get started. We'll get started with part 1, where we see. Well, let me give you just a really quick, broad context of the chapter, the first chapter. It begins with the genealogy of Jesus. Jesus at Abraham. So at Abraham, we come all the way down through the generations. We pick up King David, and we go all the way down to Joseph. Joseph being Jesus' earthly father. And so that's where we pick up our lesson. And it shares with us a real small piece of information on the relationship of Mary and Joseph right at their engagements. And so in the 18th verse of the first chapter, we see Joseph and Mary are in this betrothal, which we call engagement. And their engagement is a little bit different than what we do today. Well, in our Western culture, there was an arranged marriage, but they agreed upon it. And it was a 1-year contract. And there was no consummation of the marriage, no sex during that time. Gee, things have changed. And they could not see other folks. So if at any time during this year that they were in engagement or in contract, anyone would violate that, then they would have to do a divorce. And so in between that time, Mary was impregnated by the Holy Spirit, and she came to Joseph and she explained it to Joseph, and Joseph had a decision to make. And Joseph could either expose her or put her away quietly. And so he was contemplating that. And so the punishment of committing adultery while you were in this contract was being stoned. So it was a really heavy decision on Joseph. He didn't want to expose Mary. He didn't want her to be harmed. And so when he went to sleep, he received a dream. He had a dream, and the dream explained to him who the baby was, and it validated what Mary had said, that this is a special child. This is the Savior of the world, the promised Messiah, and not to put her away, but to go along. And so Joseph, being a just man, and what is your idea of a just man? Joseph, being a just man, did not put her away, but continue on the relationship until such time as they could consummate the marriage. And so then that was the first part of our lesson. We fast forward 30 years later. Jesus is invited to a banquet. He has primarily finished his ministry, and he was getting ready to go to the cross. And this is where we ended last winter quarter in the book of St. John. And so we pick up at the 12th chapter, the 1st through the 8th verse. Now, there's this banquet was at Simeon's house, but Jesus's friends were there, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Jesus had just raised Lazarus from the dead, and the religious leaders were really, really angry with him. And they were plotting to kill him. And so they kept a watchful eye on Jesus. So at this particular banquet, Martha was serving. Lazarus was reclining along with Jesus. But Mary came in, and she anointed Jesus' feet. She anointed Jesus' feet with spikenard. Verse 3, I'll just read verse 3. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. And so Mary loved Jesus. And in typical custom, when you were invited to someone's home, they would anoint your head with oil, and they would provide water for your feet so you could wash your feet. But in this particular scenario, Mary pours oil on Jesus' feet and then wipe his feet, dry it off with her hair. Now, a couple of things. I want to pause here and let's talk about, I'm going to talk about this spikenard. It's a very, very expensive perfume. It's a fragrant oil from the mountain of northern India. It's the value of it was worth a year's wages of an average worker. Now just keep that in mind. A year's wages of an average worker. And it was a pound. Now a Roman pound was about 340 grams or 12 ounces. Okay. Now a flask of perfume was only 1 ounce. So I'm trying to paint the picture of how much. I'm trying to give you the volume and the quantity of perfume that she poured, and why it became so shocking to members that were there, or guests that were there. So we see, instead of a little flask that was in one ounce, there was 12 ounces, which was a pound. And then it was very expensive perfume. And so as I was researching this Sunday school lesson, because I couldn't go deeper than I would like, because my expository and illuminator didn't arrive, and I was just using a regular adult student book to study. I paused to think about perfume, because I want to really paint the picture of the love and devotion and the worship that Mary had for Jesus. Later on in our lesson, Jesus defends Mary and says, she saved this for me, for my burial. And when you think about that, I thought about give them their flowers while they live, because they would typically either anoint your head when you would visit, or they would anoint your body when you died. And so Jesus was experiencing this love and adoration and worship and devotion while he was living, but he was on his way to the cross. Now back to this fragrance, I looked at the most expensive perfume of all times. And in 2019, March of 2019, Shema was unveiled in Dubai. This is the most expensive perfume, ladies and gentlemen. $1.29 million. You can Google it. SHUMAKH. Shema. It's made of Indian agar wood, sandalwood, and Turkish roses. Now, what's elaborate about this fragrance is the packaging and the bottle. The packaging is in a leather case, a leather display case, but the bottle features about 2,900. No, actually, is that the one? No, that's not the one, because I'm going to tell you about another one. This particular bottle features silver clamshells with genuine pearls on the inside, roses made out of pink gold, diamond dust, and marble toppled with a diamond-studded falcon. It's one of a kind. Interesting, isn't it? And so the price of the most expensive perfume, I'm going somewhere with this, $1.2 million, and it ranged all the way down, well, to $600. And I'm sure there's some more perfumes, of course, but this particular website gave me that range all the way to $600. My favorite was in there, Clive Christian. It was number 4. It was in the Guinness Book of World Records a while back, but it's been toppled by this new fragrance from Dubai. The second one was DKNY limited edition. All of these are limited edition. I need to add that caveat. Limited edition, $1 million with 2,909 precious stones on the bottle. The third one is we're familiar with Chanel number 5. It's a limited edition, one bottle, 30.4 ounces for $30,000. And I'm just giving you 2 more. Clive Christian number 1, $12,722 per ounce. And then New Bond Street by Bond number 9 was 7,542 ounces. Now think about, and that bottle has 3,000 crystals, Swarovski crystals on it. And then again, it ranged all the way down. And so when you think about this bottle of perfume, we'll go back to our lesson. The average salary the cost of the perfume was a year's salary of an average worker. And when you think about a bottle of perfume costing $7,500. I mean, many of us make more than $7,500 a year. Many of us make more than $12,000 a year. We may not get up there, and $30,000 a year. We may not get it up into the $1 million range, but just consider this as you contemplate the lesson. This adoration, this devotion, this love for Jesus. And she poured it on his feet and wiped it on with her hair. And while she was there, the religious leaders got a little beside themselves when they saw her take her hair down, because in their customs, women were especially if they were married, they had to cover their hair. And I thought about, oh my God, if they lived today, people don't even want to put on clothes today, let alone cover their hair. And so they had issue with her removing her hair, exposing her hair. And lastly, Judas complained. I have to read that one to you. He complained. Verse 4, 12 and 4, then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? And so, what are your thoughts on Judas' comment? What are your thoughts? He didn't care anything about the poor. So Jesus defended Mary. And he allowed her. The lesson says, worship will not be denied. If you were to measure your worship today, what would it cost you? That's the key question. Not everyone was happy about what Mary was doing. But Jesus rebuked Judas by telling him, let her alone. She had saved this gift for the time of his burial and had given what she had to worship him. And Mary, and I have to read the golden text for you because it ties in. The golden text, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also that this woman have done be told for a memorial of her. And so today we talk about Mary and her adoration and her love and devotion and worship to Jesus as she stunned the guests with pouring this expensive oil on his feet and drying it with her hair. Excellent lesson. Next week, hopefully I'll have my book, my expository illuminator, and we can go a little deeper. But in next week's lesson, we will study a prophecy that looked forward to Jesus' birth and John's account of his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. We will be in the book of we'll do a little piece from Isaiah, the 4th chapter. Isaiah, the 9th chapter, the 4th. Can I just get this right? Isaiah, the 9th chapter, the 6th through the 7th verse, and then back into St. John, the 12th chapter, the 12th through the 16th verse. I hope you enjoyed our lesson. I look forward to next week. I look forward to developing this quarter with you about the triumph of Jesus. God bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.